Okay, everyone, I'd like to take and call to order this meeting. Good afternoon, fellow COC members, and to all of the members of the public who have joined us today. It's Thursday, November 20th of 2025. Welcome to the United to House LA Citizens Oversight Committee, and the time is now 2:37. Before roll call, could you please afford me a few housekeeping comments? There are speaker cards for any members of the public that wish to make a public comment. And if you haven't already done so, please take a speaker card, fill it out, and hand it to one of our Los Angeles Housing Department staff members. And if you're joining our meeting virtually, we'd like you to please refer to the instructions on the agenda on how to place yourself on the virtual queue. Speaker, as far as the time, as always, we will welcome and encourage public comment. Your voice is vital to how we shape our policies and our directions. Thank you for your public comments in advance. And I want everyone to be heard. However, we do ensure that the committee has ample time to vet and deliberate the issues on today's agenda. We are requesting the following. Members, if members of a group or organization are going to be repeating the same message, please consider picking one or two folks to communicate the message. So we have as much time as possible to discuss everything on our agenda, among other things, and our points. If you need to, and I'm sorry, we want to and need to hear from all members of the public that wish to speak. But if we'd like to also move forward with our work, and we ask that you all help and ensure that we do just that. Speaking time will be limited to 2 minutes per speaker. Translation, we will be utilizing simultaneous translation interpretation to prevent interruptions to our speaker. If anyone in the audience needs or requires Spanish language interpretation for this meeting, please notify one of the staff members of the Los Angeles Housing Department to assist you in giving you a headset. Those who are in person that do not speak Spanish but also wish English interpretation. And for those of you that are on Zoom that require interpretation, please select the appropriate language interpretation using the globe-shaped interpretation button only if you require it. Otherwise, please tune in to the main audio channel. For example, if you are in the Spanish language interpretation channel, and there is a public comment in Spanish, you will need to switch from the main audio to hear it in Spanish and vice versa. And I please ask that our city attorney for item number 2 take roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will take roll. Chair Jones.
Here.
Vice Chair Espinosa Coulter.
Here.
Committee Member Abarca.
Here.
Committee Member Barragan.
Here.
Committee Member Saya.
Here.
Committee Member Holland.
Here.
Committee Member Knight.
Then.
Committee Member Lewis. Absent. Committee Member Lipa. Absent. Committee Member Morales. Absent. Committee Member Nishimoto.
Absent.
Committee Member Reed. Absent. Committee Member Romero.
Here.
Committee Member Rout. Absent. Madam Chair, you have quorum.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So now we can move on to public comment. We will allow item number 3. Again, thank you to all those that would like to make a public comment. Speakers are allowed up to 1 minute on a specific item and 1 minute for general public comment for a total of 2 minutes. We can move to in-person.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First speaker, Ralph Cruz. General public comment, 1 minute.
Good afternoon. My name is Ralph Cruz. I live in District 10. I live in a neighborhood that is now gentrified and the market rates are now nearly triple from what I pay in rent. I've already been through the eviction process once, a case where I had to represent myself pro per because I do not live in an assigned zip code to receive legal assistance. I did not go to law school, so I was at an extreme disadvantage representing myself before the eviction court, while my landlord was able to hire one of the best lawyer firms in the county. My case was dismissed because the charges were not based on reality and they violated my tenant's rights. I received a 3-day notice to pay or quit in the middle of August, stating I had not paid rent for the last 12 months. And in 3 days, the landlord would pick up the check she had been owed. I have the money order receipts corresponding with each month's purchase, the tracking number for overnight mailing, and confirmation from the post office it was delivered. Throughout the year, the money orders have not been cashed, all the while the landlord has been telling me she had not received my rent. In early September, I checked again on the US Post Office site and the time showed I had paid all 12 months. I did not send 12 rent payments all at once, one time, or any time. The insistence that I pay the total of rent for 1 year, all the while the landlord has already collected my rent payments for the year, goes beyond harassment, abuse, and to me is indeed criminal. Recently, my apartment has been placed in the REAP program. I've been submitting complaints to LHD and to LA County Health for the last 2+ years because my heating unit does not work. I have not had heat in my apartment this whole time. The landlord has refused to do repairs, and when they are done, the repairs still do not pass the gas company and they become red tagged. It has happened approximately 6 times. The gas company leaves instructions on what needs to be repaired each time, citing gas and carbon monoxide leaks each time. My Section 8 has been abated. I'm also 64 years old on disability, and it's been cold the last recent few days. And it seems there's no enforcement or responsibility that can take care of this. It seems endless. And I'd like a solution soon. Thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next speaker, Devin Woodfine.
Good afternoon, COC Board. I submitted 2 articles recently to you all in regards to LHD and a property in Highland Park. It talks about how LHD has received over 21,000 complaints, and out of those 21,000 complaints, only 35 have been referred to the city attorney's office. Out of those 35, only one is actually in the process of being prosecuted, and it's in the Highland Park Tenants Union. This owner has pretended to have his workers be ICE workers to evict the tenants. He has also been charged with 10 violations of the Tahoe anti-enforcement. The reason why I shared this is recently my owner was given a citation, an administrative citation enforcement. I qualified for 16 out of the 18, but they only chose to do 3 because they didn't believe the city attorney's office would actually go for so much. And they said even out of the 3, only 1 may go through. Along with that, I was supposed to get reduction of services and other things that I qualified for, but they decided, as an investigator said, we're just going to stick with the citation and anything else is, it's just in the past. As you've heard me say throughout the months, and I believe it's a year now that I've been coming, the enforcement is very critical. And LHD is giving a narrative that isn't matched in reality. What are we going to do when they're telling you one thing, but the evidence is showing another? These are laws that they don't get to interpret, they are supposed to enforce. And if they continuously do that, they should not be allowed to operate, whether that's a different agency or being able to put people who are actually going to enforce those laws. The fact that I'm the first Section 8 tenant to have their owner receive a citation is sad because I know plenty of other Section 8 tenants who are going through that. My owner just recently got in a Section 8 tenant and they're going through the exact same thing and they've only been there for 3 months. Thank you.
There are no other in-person comments, but we do have online. Speaker Becky Dennison, would you please unmute and you may speak?
Thank you. Hello, committee members. My name is Becky Dennison. I'm with Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles and representing the United to House LA Coalition today. I'm going to speak in public comment and on items 8, 9, and 11. We did submit a letter to you all, but I'm just going to highlight a couple of the things. On number 8, we are in strong support of the staffing plan and very excited to see this additional capacity moving forward. As you all know, it's really critical to the success of the ULA programs. For number 9, we do have some concerns about the Inspector General job description and just its sort of placement overall, and really think it deserves a higher level of job classification. It's going to play a major role in the oversight of the programs and the funding. And so we just think it needs to be a higher level position that can really meet the expectations of our coalition and of voters. And then particularly, it's essential that that position stays independent. While it'll be within LAHD, essential that the COC retain your ability to hire and fire this position and make sure that it's really accountable to you and not the city. And then for number 11, we wanted to just, say that we're aware of multiple efforts, well-intended and not well-intended, to revise Measure ULA in the coming months, both at the state level and at the potentially at the local level. Our coalition believes strongly it should be only changed at the local level, not the state level. And we just really want to urge you to exercise your authority to review any of these possible amendments through any tool which they may be pursued. So thank you very much.
Any other further virtual? No other virtual speakers, so you may close public comment if you wish.
Are we allowed to comment to public comment?
Perhaps in your report?
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to close public comment and say thank you to everyone that participated, either in person or online. Next, we would like to move to the chair report. I'd like to start by saying and address the recent motion that was put out by City Council. On Monday, Council's ad hoc committee on LA recovery issued a motion regarding Measure ULA. You can find the copy in your handouts and in your materials. The motion directs the city attorney to prepare a feasibility analysis and, if deemed feasible, an ordinance which grants a one-time exemption from Measure ULA for the property owners in the Palisades within 30 days of this motion. As the COC, we look forward to engaging with members of the council and the city in overseeing these proposed amendments pursuant to Section 22.618.8B of Measure ULA prior to City Council adopting any proposed amendments or ordinance concerning Measure ULA. The COC shall review any proposed amendment to the measure. The COC remains the authority to express an opinion on whether the proposed amendment furthers the intent or the purposes of the measure. We look forward to reviewing any proposed amendments and ordinances in the coming weeks and to collaborate with the city attorney and the city council to do so. And this closes my report in item number 4. Oh, did you want to add?
Are we allowed to, can she keep it open so we can ask questions or respond?
To her, yeah, yes.
Yes, we can keep this open. Vice Chair Coulter.
Hi. So I think I wanted to highlight that there's 3 levels of changes that are being proposed for the ULA program, and they're coming from different levels. Becky touched on one, which is a state level, which would exempt, I think, properties built in the last 15 years. I don't recall if it is just residential, if it's commercial, but there's some level of exemption for newly built properties that's happening at the state level. There is this local motion regarding the Palisades and exemptions in the next 3 years for property sales there. And then there's also some technical fixes that are being proposed. So I just wanted to like elevate that for folks to make sure that everybody's aware of that. And also to make sure that to make you all aware that we're talking through it. We're trying to come up with the best way to respond it. And some of it has to do with timing and who's the person who is charged with going out, frankly, and reminding city council that changes come to the COC. So I just wanted to elevate that for folks and open it up for discussion. Is that okay, Michael?
Yes.
It's already, okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Knight?
So to follow up on Madam Vice Chair's point, the question then lies in regards to the communication or protocol. Has there been a vehicle or device, such as a letter or any other element that has been sent out to describe what the protocol is? And shall this body indicate by a follow-up to facilitate that, to remind all what the protocol is?
We've talked about developing a protocol. I think we're talking about what that protocol will be. I'm looking at Richard because, and Abigail, we're talking about what it should be, but I don't know that we have a protocol yet.
I mean, we have the language in the measure right now, which is
Yes.
what we're basing things on, which is that you all can choose to weigh in, but that you have the authority to review any proposed amendments. And then how you all organize as a body to make decisions about a formal opinion is kind of up to you, but it'll probably be something similar to what we've all experienced on this committee, an ad hoc group or some smaller body that deliberates, proposes something to the wider group that you all vote on.
Right.
So that, for that clarification, Madam Vice Chair, I strongly recommend that it goes into the governance ad hoc in regards to expeditiously reviewing and then report out to the full body.
Thank you. I recognize your hand. Commissioner?
Was the chair or vice chair or anybody on the COC advised that this was going to happen at the council level?
The CD11 motion?
Yes, this motion.
No. Was LAHD advised about the, no.
LHC wasn't advised either? Because I guess to your point, anything, I mean, what's happened here is that the council person asked for the city attorney to do something, come back to them, and that they can act, and we have no role in it. I mean, that seems to be not appropriate. And I mean, at the very least, if the council is going to talk about ULA, is not the chair the person that is contacted and asked to speak on the issue? And if that isn't already set, that should be set in governance committee. I mean, basically, I would think that anytime the council would do anything regarding ULA, the chair or the vice chair should be notified and given the opportunity to speak to it. I don't think that, at least from what I'm reading, LEHD doesn't necessarily doesn't represent this committee. They support it. We partner with them. We get things done, and they're the mechanism by which our goals are met. But in terms of relations with the council, it's not through LAHD. It's directly from the committee. So I would think that the city council needs to be reminded of that. And something needs to be put in place that basically, puts us in a position to speak when this kind of thing comes up and either support, differ at the right, but at the very least be heard.
Sorry.
No worries.
I apologize. I did silence the phone, but apparently GPS doesn't cooperate. Thank you.
No worries. I concur. You have the floor, Commissioner Lewis.
Yes, clarification. As it is now, this, the analysis that the city attorney would be doing, would that include input from LAHD or the ledge analyst, or who within the city body would be providing some of the analysis other than the city attorney themselves? And how do we get access to that information?
I think probably we need to talk to CAD 11's
Representative.
to ask that question.
Okay, so at the moment, we don't know.
At the moment, we don't know.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Have any capacity to do an independent analysis?
Well, hold on. They're asking an analysis prepare and present an ordinance to effectuate the proposal.
I mean, frankly, I think that the premise is an incorrect premise that they're operating from. Well, we're going to encourage to sell homes in Palisades. Something doesn't click there.
So
Huh? But that's not the goal of the recovery. I mean, the goal of the recovery is not to basically have people sell homes and profit on the sale of the homes, is to rebuild homes. Am I missing something?
But I think what we're all getting at is that there's no enforcement mechanism for us to jump up and down in front of council and say, you never called us, you're never, right? That's what everybody's asking for.
Yeah, but it's also basically, why would we encourage something to do that would basically reduce the revenues to basically to us and encourage more home sales there? That's the premise of the premise here is that somehow ULA is preventing the sale of homes in the Palisades, and that's a bad thing. No, that's not. I mean, the whole premise of recovery out there is to rebuild. Show me how ULA is preventing rebuild, then okay, you got me. But that's not the case here. That's not what's actually happening. So the initial premise by the councilman, unfortunately, I think is it might be in response to, her constituents that wish to sell their homes, but it has nothing to do with recovery.
That would be a further discussion. Commissioner Knight.
So for clarification purposes, I presume this has not gone before the city council, that it's gone through the processes of going through committee and is being proposed?
The committee, this came through a special committee for rebuilding Palisades? Right.
The ad hoc recovery. So again, for clarification, it has not gone before the full city council, correct?
I don't think it's gone to budget and finance even.
Well, there's a mechanism process that doesn't necessarily have to happen. Do we have a proposed date as to when this item is going to be presented to the full city council?
I think just backing up, it feels like the global issue is that the COC hasn't been brought into the process of a
Correct.
potential council motion or council action that would affect ULA.
Correct.
So we need to kind of figure out like what the protocol is to get that direct line of communication between you all as a body and any other bodies that might contemplate alterations to ULA.
Correct. And in that scope, there are potential timelines in the effort to mitigate so that we can have that communication and conversation. Again, there are governance elements that can be utilized to circumvent that. And so we want to avoid that.
So I'm just going to read as a reminder to all of us what the Oversight Committee, what we can do. So it says the Oversight Committee may request reports from general managers of city departments and chairs of city council committees. The Oversight Committee shall have access to all information relevant to its work and be authorized to receive relevant information from other city entities as required under this article, including information related, that part's not important. So it's written in here, right? So we can request reports, we can ask for all the information that's relevant. We're supposed to have access to it. It says we shall have access. It's not discretionary. So I think it's clear from, you know, from the municipal code what we can do. I think the question is how do we do it? Because we haven't had that. But I just want to be very clear that we obviously have the authority to do this. And so when we're talking about, we should be talking solely about the step-by-step mechanisms because we all are empowered to do these things.
So the next question would be, should we send out a letter requesting information regarding CD 11 regarding this motion and also CC the city council?
Yes, you can,
Oh.
Chair. You can do, yeah. But to get the consensus of the entire committee, we have to put it back on the agenda. Yeah.
Can we move that forward?
Yeah, you could put that on the next agenda.
Well, or go through the governance ad hoc to then bring it to the full body. And we could do a special call if needed because of the emergency.
I like that idea.
And one other thing, perhaps for the governance ad hoc to think through is maybe just coming up with a global kind of proposed process that you just share with all council committees. So you're not just responding to this one instance, but just setting a precedent moving forward.
We can do that concurrently, can't we, at the same time? Do this initial one and at the special meeting, create the system to move forward.
This is kind of on the topic
Commissioner?
of the recovery, I guess. I think the only feedback I would have is that I think the only pushback I can see right now is like the possibility of like, I know we're looking at it as like people want to rebuild, but they're asking for tax exemptions on the sales of homes. But there is the possibility people argue, in my head, there's a possibility people argue for selling homes being cheaper than rebuilding, maybe moving somewhere else as the recovery. In that case, I think because it says here like a rebate program for those for eligible property owners. Like, I think that would be good to possibly include, saying like if you can prove that it's cheaper or if it's better for you financially to move instead of rebuilding and sell your home, then you are eligible for rebate. Because I think like then and there you also include like another like group of people or constituents who are like, we actually need to sell homes because it's not good for us to stay here, like financially. I don't know what the situation looks like out there. This is just from reading this. Yes.
Any more comments and discussion? I think everyone's idea is fantastic. I like that. Any more? I guess that concludes that portion of my chair report. Okay. I'd also like to acknowledge that we've had some of our commissioners come in during our discussion. So we have the presence of Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner Morales, Commissioner Reed, and Commissioner Root. And I would also like to announce that we actually have a new member. And I'm happy to announce that we have a new commissioner for seat number 8. We have Antonia M. Root, welcome. Route, thank you. As a reminder, this seat is most previously held by Jennifer Gita, and by the ordinance is to be filled with an individual that has at least 5 years' experience as an organizer or advocate working at community-based organizations to address housing needs for seniors and people with disabilities. Antonia is an energetic leader and an instructor focused on empowering diverse communities across Los Angeles County to achieve better health through prevention, nutrition, physical activity. Welcome, Antonia. And if you'd like to give us a few words about yourself, you are welcome. Welcome, Commissioner. Okay. All right. Wonderful. No worries. And that will close item number 4. All right. We will move on to item number 5, our ad hoc report. And that will be done by, let's see. We call upon the representative of our ad hoc committees to give a brief key report on key conversations from our meetings. Commissioner Lewis.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So reporting for the Town Hall Ad Hoc Committee. We are now about 2 weeks out from that meeting, December 4th at the EMJ Recreational Center. We have been doing a big marketing push. We hope you have all seen those marketing materials and would encourage everybody to invite their network to come, and hope that, of course, you will also be there. Right now, we have 96 RSVPs that have come in from the Eventbrite. And in addition to that, of course, there'll be LEHD staff represented there, and I hope most of the commission members will be there. We've met about 5 times since the last COC meeting, trying to plan the details. It will include a presentation by LEHD, a panel with various individuals, including a developer, someone from labor, and hopefully a tenant representative who will be speaking about the impact of ULA on them. And then there will be breakout tables discussing various parts of the program. In addition to that, we will have several groups setting up tables to provide individual information and an opportunity for members of the public to have office hours with LAHD staff to discuss things that may be of individual concern. So we're very excited about it. I'm hoping we're going to get a lot of good feedback from the public as to what is working and what might be improved in the ULA program to help guide us in the coming year.
And now we will hear from our Communications Ad Hoc Committee, Commissioner Romero.
Yes, hi. For the communications ad hoc, we have been hard at work building out our social media content, sharing updates and information with the public. So if you are not following us on Instagram, please do so. Like and share our posts. That way more people can see it. We've also been working with the Town Hall Committee to support marketing and outreach. As part of that process, we launched our first ad campaign on our said social media platforms to share the town hall information and make sure it gets into folks' feeds, and have seen an impact on the RSVP rates on our Eventbrite, so that's a positive. And at our next COC meeting, we will be sharing those engagement metrics from our first ad buy. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you all. And one more reminder to please attend our town hall. Send all of the information through your local networks. We want it to be a fantastic event, and it's going to give all of the information that we've been doing over the past year. And it'll be fun, unofficially. This will close item number 5. And I'd like to move on to item number 6, which is our Inspector General's report, next on the agenda. And I would like to turn that over to our staff, Abigail.
Thank you, Chair Jones. So just a brief report from me. The IIG has been working alongside our selected contractor, MGO, and LAHD to further make progress on our independent audit. The auditor plans to complete the first year, so that's the 23-24 year, by early December. So we'll have that ready at the town hall to share. And then the additional years will be completed by mid-December. And we plan to share those findings with the COC and the public at our upcoming COC meetings in 2026. And I will now pass it back to Chair Jones.
Thank you so much. And this will close item number 6. I'd like to move us to item number 7, which is our Los Angeles Housing Department report. Please see the supplemental materials that are within your folder. And you have 15 minutes, and that'll be followed by discussion. And thank you.
Get situated. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. My name is Callie Hardy. I'm the Director of Strategic Engagement and Policy here with the Los Angeles Housing Department. Today, I will have our sort of regular update on revenues and expenditures and a couple of brief updates on a couple of key items since our last meeting. And then I will hand the presentation over to Craig Arsenault, who is the Assistant General Manager of our Housing Development Bureau, who will share with you all an exciting update on the Homes for LA NOFA as well. So starting us off, as always, beginning with our revenue and expenditures report. And of course, starting with the revenues. In October, I think the banner kind of thing to report out here is that in October, we had our highest month of revenue to date, with over $62.3 million collected from 59 transactions. And that continues our trend, as you can see on this line chart here, and as I've shared at our last meeting, right, where we've seen several record-breaking months over the first couple months of this fiscal year. So in those first 4 months so far, we've collected over $218 million in ULA revenue. And of course, this is continuing on this upward trend. So that brings our total revenue collection since we began back in April of 2023 to over $944.2 million. Moving forward onto our budget to actuals report. So the information that we have is available through and current through the end of October. As always, this is a snapshot of the top line numbers, and I'll move us right along to the breakdown by each program area. Starting with our affordable housing programs, similar to past reports, right? We're continuing to see a gradual spend down on the program funds under the ULA multifamily program. And again, those are coming from our ULA Accelerator Plus projects, which are continuing to draw down. So in the last 2 months, September and October, we saw approximately $3.7 million in expenditures under this program category. And so that reflects expenditures associated with 2 of our projects that have been drawing down on their awards. The other program category that has seen expenditures within the affordable housing programs is the Homeownership Opportunities Program. And what that reflects is loans from our July reservation round that are being funded. In total, $1.7 million in expenditures to date. And I actually have a more detailed update on that program in a few slides. And then apart from the funds that will be awarded through the Homes for LA NOFA,
The other two programs that have not yet begun to show expenditures here are the AC Rehab Small NOAA program and the ULA Capacity Building Program, which are both still undergoing the procurement and contracting processes that'll be necessary to start seeing expenditures here. I think I shared this at the last meeting, but just as a reminder, the ULA Capacity Building Program, we were authorized by the City Council to enter into a contract with Liberty Hill Foundation to administer the capacity building program, and we're currently working with them to finalize the details to execute their contract. So we should expect to start seeing that reflected on this report at our next meeting. Moving forward to our homelessness prevention programs, starting with the expenditures that we're continuing to see under the programs that are included in our current contract with Stay Housed LA and our contract with LAFLA. This includes the Eviction Defense and Prevention Program. In September and October, those expenditures totaled over $2.6 million for this program category. And then the expenditures associated with the program under the Tenant Outreach and Education Program. And I'll just note, we did have a billing correction there since our last meeting. So in total, we've billed just over $300,000 to that program fund for that contract so far this fiscal year, but are continuing implementation there. I'll just touch briefly on status of that contract. As we shared at our last meeting, we are still going through a procurement process for continuation of these services. Again, that includes the eviction defense, homelessness prevention, rental assistance, and tenant outreach and education components that are currently under the umbrella of the Stay Housed LA contract. Following our September 25th, so our last meeting, we did release a report to the City Council requesting authority to amend our existing contract with LAFLA to increase the total contract amount by approximately $8.4 million. Right, and that was intended to ensure that we have sufficient, financial or funds allocated to that contract to support uninterrupted delivery of those services while we complete that procurement process. So that is still underway. On October 22nd, so about a month ago, the City Council approved that request, as well as an additional 2-month extension of the contract term. So the contract will now go through March 31st of 2026. And they, as part of that action, they increased the total contract amount by approximately $14.9 million. So we had requested 8.4, but with the additional 2-month extension, that amount was increased to 14.9. That's currently pending execution of that contract amendment. And so once that is executed, it will also be reflected on this reporting and show as additional encumbered balance. And in the meantime, staff have been continuing to work to release a revised request for proposals. We are expecting that will be released this week with the bidders conference scheduled for December 2nd and proposals due on December 19th. Staff will then review our proposals and present recommendations to the City Council. Again, working toward a goal of having those contracts executed prior to March 31st. And we do have additional information about this procurement opportunity, which is active on the LAHD website, as well as on rampla.org. One other update to share with you all since our last meeting with respect to the ULA Income Support Program. We are continuing to work with our partners in the Community Investment for Families Department, CIFD, to work through some procurement challenges associated with services needed to launch that program, and in particular, to support the launch of the emergency round. Again, we've talked about that in this committee, right? That would support approximately 1,000 households who are at risk of homelessness and have been impacted by one of the local emergencies this year. We are working with urgency to get that report completed and address some of the challenges, and are hopeful that we'll release that report to the City Council within the coming weeks as well. So really hoping to keep that program moving forward as well. And then lastly, an update on the Protections from Tenant Harassment Program. In September and October, we had over $1.1 million in expenditures which included staff costs, as well as invoicing that we've received through September for ULA-funded Tahoe outreach and education for services carried out by our subcontractor, Sage. One additional contracting piece here as well is we're working through contract approvals for Tahoe legal services. So this will help to expand our tenant protection efforts, right, by providing a private right of action for renters who are facing harassment from landlords. So Intercity Law Center was selected as the administrator for that portion of the program through a competitive procurement process. That contract award has gone through the Housing and Homelessness Committee and is pending full council approval, which we're expecting hopefully right after this Thanksgiving break here. And so we'll hope to have updates on that piece as well at a future meeting. And then finally, just touching on our administration budget, we're continuing to see expenditures here as well. A total of about 1.5 million in expenditures over the last 2 months. Okay, now I'll move us forward to some brief updates on some of our key milestones. So touching on the RFP for the ULA Small NOAA program, which I think I shared at our last meeting as well. We have issued a request for proposals to procure the fund administrator who will be charged with administration of the ULA Act Rehab Small NOAA program. I will note that we did receive high volume of very complex technical assistance questions as we've been going through the bidders conference and have had that procurement open. So we did require some additional time to prepare responses, but I believe those have now been completed, and if they haven't been posted, should be posted shortly. And so as a result, to provide bidders more time to review those responses, the deadline has been extended to Monday, December 8th. And I'll just note that after the close of that December 8th deadline, we'll look forward to reviewing the proposals that come in and of course, share further updates with the committee as that work progresses as well. And then I will move on to the home ownership opportunities program as well, some timely updates. As a reminder, this program provides first-time low-income home buyers support to purchase homes by providing loans of up to $161,000 that covers the down payment, acquisition and closing costs. So last week, the department held our second round of the ULA loan reservations. In total, 23 loan reservations were issued for a total amount of $3.6 million in ULA funds. So the loans that will result from that reservation round, we would expect to see those start to be funded within the next 90 days. And then in addition, as I think I shared at our previous meeting, we had a reservation round back in July. So a total of 12 loans were funded from that reservation round for a total funding amount of about 1.7 million. And I'll just note our next upcoming loan reservation round is slated for March 4th, where again, we'll make available 23 loan reservations. So really pleased to be making these funds available and getting them out there. I'll pause if there's any questions on this portion of my report before I pass it over to Craig.
I just have a minor question. Will there be, data given on how many people are going to be hired in those positions that you mentioned and the title of those positions?
For the proposed positions for the ULA staffing plan?
Correct.
I will give a detailed update on the staffing plan in our next agenda item, but we are requesting a total of 108 positions through that request.
I saw that report.
Yes.
I saw that report. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, on the small NOAA program, what's your estimate of program that will kick off?
So within the RFP, it includes, part of the scope is for the respondents to provide recommendations on program design and to support with development of some of the pieces that will need to come together to support program launch. So some of the underwriting guidelines, the pre-qualification guidelines, and other pieces of that. So I don't have a good sense of when we would expect to see like an application round opening, because part of that will be contingent on some of those components that we expect to see further fleshed out with the proposals that we expect to see coming in. But yes, we'll be working as quickly as we can to review the proposals that are coming in. We'll have to bring the selected contract before council for approval, contract execution before we can begin that scope of work. So I'm hopeful that we can launch the program in the first half of next year, but I would need to provide more update to you all once we have a better sense of what we're seeing through the responses to the RFP.
I'm curious as to whether applicants apply with a specific site identified, and if so, how they manage to hold on to those properties until there's an actual award of funds.
So my understanding of the program, but Craig, I don't know. Sorry, this is a question about the homeownership program and how the reservation round works. Are you able to speak to that, or you want me to answer? Yeah, okay. My understanding is that the loan reservations are to support purchase of an identified home. So you reserve that loan. I believe you get a commitment of those funds, and then it's a process of closing on that loan, basically.
Okay.
Sure, happy to. Yes, happy to. All right. Thank you so much. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and hand the presentation over to Craig Arsenault, who's the Assistant General Manager of our Housing Development Bureau, who's going to share just a quick update with you all on the Homes for LA NOFA.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Kelly mentioned, my name's Craig Arsenault. I'm Assistant General Manager at LHD, and I oversee our Housing Development Bureau. And thank you for having us here today. So as Kelly mentioned, I'm going to give you all an update about our Homes for LA NOFA. This is the biggest NOFA that LHD has ever administered. Typically, when we administer a NOFA, it's for 1 or 2 programs. As part of this NOFA, we're funding 7 programs, making 7 programs available for developers. We have $387 million available in total funding, of which $316 million is ULA funds. So as part of the programs that we're making available, we're gonna be creating the opportunity for the construction of new affordable housing, preserving existing affordable housing, and we also have an operating assistance program for existing LHD deals that are struggling financially. And I'd like to give you all a little bit of background of some of the work that went into getting us to this point. In advance of opening the NOFA, we created a Homes for LA webpage and we put that on our LHD website. The webpage is providing resources and information for the development community to go to answer their questions. Next, we held a bidders conference in August to explain the program to the development community, answer their questions. When we opened the NOFA in September, we were very mindful of trying to answer questions quickly and thoroughly. And we assisted applicants by, obviously accepting questions via email. I think we received over 700 questions that we responded to. We were posting answers on a weekly basis on our webpage. We were holding virtual office hours twice a week. And we created an FAQ feature on our webpage as well that we kept updated. So a lot of work went into this to getting us to this point. So we opened the NOFA in September. We closed the NOFA on October 20th. And we received 174 applications, which is a lot. And it shows a tremendous level of demand, you know, and a need for these programs. Due to the volume of applications that we received and the complexity that's involved with reviewing these applications, from underwriting sponsors to underwriting the actual products themselves, threshold reviews, actual scoring, we've updated our timeline to get all this completed. And so our new timeline, our new goal is to be able to publish our results by January 14th. We're gonna then have an appeal period to allow applicants to dispute their results of their score if they chose to. That appeal period will end on January 21st. And we're anticipating that we'll have City Council approval for the funding awards that we're recommending by February 2026. The list of complete applications and project self-scores is now available on the Homes for LA website. And this next slide is showing the number of applications that we received for the programs. It shows a total breakdown across the various funding programs. This represents, it's 174 applications. It represents 12,316 units total across all these applications. You may notice that we're showing 9 categories when in fact we only have 7 programs. That's because the NOFA regulations allow applicants to pair requests for preservation funds with ULA operating assistance. And so this report is showing those cross applications broken out for those 2 categories. And also note that this represents distinct applications. However, some of these projects may have submitted applications to more than 1 funding program. With the exception of the ULA operating assistance program, we believe that all the programs are going to be oversubscribed. And as we complete our review, we look forward to sharing additional information with all of you on the number of projects that will be funded under each category, as well as the associated number of housing units that will be supported. And we're looking forward to doing that. As we have a better understanding of the demand under each program, this will allow us to work together to identify potential refinements or modifications to the NOFA term sheets prior to our next round of funding. And that's my update for today. Were there any questions? Kelly, did you want to? With that, I can hand it back to Kelly. Questions, concerns?
Yes, we have a few questions.
Sure.
Vice Chair?
Thank you. Yeah, I witnessed all of not just about all of the Q&A and all of the work by the staff, and it was really a tremendous effort. So yeah, kudos. That was a lot of work. You of course all collectively aware of CIDLAC deadlines with the February dates that there might be around earlier, but you're aware of TCAC and CIDLAC and all of those deadlines that you're needing to.
We have been looking at that. I don't know them offhand right now, but I know we were looking at that as we were rescheduling our timeline. At the time we were rescheduling it, they had not posted their dates at that point.
And will the staff be going back to applicants with questions? Like, will there be a sort of a technical review process before the announcement, or is it just quiet the announcement and then we'll get through underwriting, after it goes to City Council?
Well, they're actually doing their underwriting reviews now. And so what'll happen is we'll publish the scores, and the applicants will have an opportunity to appeal if they choose to regarding their particular score. And then we'll review the appeals and go back to the drawing board. And then at that point, we'll move forward with recommending awards to City Council.
Sorry to interrupt. Just a reminder to put on your mic so that the folks on the virtually can hear.
After the appeals, your recommendations are based upon the scoring.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
So from highest to lowest, And the top scores in certain categories will be basically identified as the awardees
That's correct.
and submitted to council committee and then the full council for approval.
Yes.
Does the council have the ability to basically make changes to that?
I don't think so. I think they're going to go with our recommendations.
But I guess more specifically, do they have the ability?
To my knowledge, no, it's going to be we're controlling the review process and the scoring, and we'll be making a recommendation to them to move this forward.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner.
Is LAHD soliciting feedback on how the NOFA went and how to like maybe improve the process or maybe not improve it in the future, depending on feedback?
We definitely intend to. We definitely want to get through this process first, and we look forward to feedback, absolutely.
I guess my question would be if one of the organizations or entities did not, I guess, get selected, do they have the ability to apply again?
For this NOFA, no, but for the next one, sure.
Thank you.
Maybe, maybe you guys can talk about how many NOFAs you anticipate doing in the upcoming, in 2026 and in subsequent years?
Sure. Did you want to? Well, I know we're anticipating another one in about 6 to 8 months. Do you want to add anything to that?
So what our goal is, right, is to get to a point where we're administering 2 rounds of funding every year. So we are looking forward to a second round of funding once we complete this one. That will, if there are funds remaining that aren't awarded through this round, certainly would carry those over and make those available, as well as any additional new sources of funding we might have, La Casa being potentially one of those. And then looking at a cadence of trying to get to 2 NOFA rounds per year, which is a tremendous increase in activity.
I'm going to recognize Commissioner Lewis, then Commissioner Rowe.
And once the council makes their approvals, what's the length of commitment that you're providing people, I presume, in order to gather the rest of their funding and certificates of TCAC allocations when necessary?
It's 1 year, sounds like.
I wonder if someone doesn't qualify, they don't be cut. They can appeal you and they can reapply. What I want to know is are there resources that can help a person better prepare and get ready in the interim of reapplying?
Sorry, I'm just going to paraphrase that real quickly, just for folks listening online. Are there resources available for folks who applied this time, but maybe did not make it and can then reapply next time? Is that the? Okay, perfect.
To-do list.
Perfect. All right.
So I'm not aware of any resources right now, but I can tell you that when we were preparing for this NOFA that we're in the process of now, we were providing resources, right? We were doing office hours. We were answering a variety of questions online. We were posting those questions on its FAQ sheet. We're doing this on a weekly basis. So we were trying to provide that kind of support. And certainly we intend to do that again for the next one. Did you want to add to that, please?
Sorry, Craig.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
And then I'll just add, I mentioned the capacity building program a moment ago. And so that is another resource that is ULA funded that we're going to be standing up that supports with a variety of capacity building resources as well, and could support, for example, resources that, organizations that maybe need connection to partnership with experienced developers who maybe have been successful in working through the processes before. So that is a resource we hope to make available as well.
I'd like to recognize Lisa, Chair, Commissioner.
Sure. Yeah, that last information was actually helpful, and I'm curious if it's like every like 6 to 8 months in terms of like the NOFA, the timeline between one and the other. Um, for folks that don't get selected and then reapply, is there an opportunity for them or the potential for them to be like, is there like a pipeline essentially that's created? Or do they, when they reapply, is it all kind of like all new applications are like seen as equal from scratch? And I'm only asking because I'm wondering with preservation projects, right? Like 6 to 8 months might make a difference. Like even getting that level of support might make a difference in terms of like, where like one project, the development of, in terms of how it could impact the score. So, yeah.
Yeah, so right now, the way we're doing it, it's when we do our next NOFA, it's going to be starting from scratch. It's going to be everyone starting from ground zero and competing for the funds again. There's no sort of carryover from the previous one.
Just to clarify, so kind of piggybacking off of your question, in the like, what feedback will you guys give to people who are denied or like have a lower score, like in that sense, like
Can I make a clarification? We're talking about organizations,
organizations?
developers,
Yes,
like
yes.
not
Not like literal people.
people.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so
Vocabulary wasn't correct. But yeah, like organizations that are denied, like in the sense of like in the to-do list sense, like if I receive, if like I'm gonna put it in the school terms, like if I receive feedback for an essay, my teacher tells me, do this, this, and this next time, and then for your next final, this will be good. Does that make sense? So not that you can edit the one you're doing right now, but so you can prepare better for the next one in that sense. That's why I didn't think it was clear for me.
Yeah, I think through the appeal process, there might be a little bit of that feedback happening. But honestly, we have not set this up right now to like sort of do like technical assistance, to provide technical assistance in that way, other than what Kelly mentioned a minute ago. But there might be an opportunity to do a little bit of that during the appeals process.
Vice Chair?
So I wanted to make everybody aware that there are nonprofits that are set up to help other nonprofits that are doing affordable housing development, that do the kind of capacity building and support that you all are touching upon. So that infrastructure exists in the affordable housing industry. So just making you all aware. That's what I do. But the question I had was really about underwriting organizations. That is something that I wouldn't say is unique to this NOFA, but was certainly elevated to a level that we haven't necessarily seen in the past. And I wonder if in the report back, the next LHD report, we can get those metrics or some sort of some level of how organizations are being underwritten. And I ask it, don't need to see specific organizations, but our affordable housing industry is in sort of dire financial straits right now. And so how do we avoid keeping good developers that are doing good work? How do we avoid keeping them out of the pipeline because their organizations might be suffering?
That's a really good point. I think the question is to report back with some data after we finish this process.
It's more of like what kind of metrics are in that when you're assessing an organization, what kind of metrics are being used as in part of that process?
Yeah, so we're looking at the number of projects they have in their portfolio. We're looking at their cash. We're trying to assess whether or not they have the capacity to complete the project that they're proposing. Did you want to add more to that?
The sponsor underwriting guidelines posted.
Oh, so Callie just mentioned that our sponsor underwriting guidelines are posted, so you can review that. Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Having heard and discussed, do we want to entertain a motion?
Oh, do we need? We're just asking of them for a report back
Okay,
or to include in their next report.
okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was just the LHD report, correct? Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no motion.
That was item number 8.
7.
7. All right, thank you. All right. That closes item number 7, and we can move to item number 8. And that would be a presentation from our Los Angeles Housing Department on the proposed ULA staffing plan report. And Callie, you have the floor.
Hopefully this goes. Yes. All right. Hello again. Callie Hardy with LHD. Today, I'm pleased to share with you all, really as a follow-up to our update from last month, a more formal presentation on the proposed ULA staffing plan. So at our last meeting, I did share sort of a high-level overview of the information that we were anticipating to include in our proposed staffing plan report. Since then, on October 3rd, we did issue a report to City Council that includes a comprehensive analysis of the new staff positions that are needed to support and sustain our ongoing and successful implementation of all of our ULA programs. As you all are more than well aware, ULA is a sustainable, permanent funding source dedicated to affordable housing and homelessness prevention in the city, providing us with resources as well as the responsibility to adequately staff the implementing departments with the implementing departments, sorry, so that the intent of ULA can be realized. So we've worked with some of our partner departments to assess our capacity needs to inform a staffing plan that will enable the city to support the full implementation of all 11 ULA programs, consistent with that 8% cap on the administrative expenditures as detailed within the ordinance. And as maybe was made clear through the last report, we have been able to do a lot of work already with our existing staff levels. But this has been an immense resource strain. And we need to staff the department at appropriate levels in order to sustain this work and continue to grow our ULA funded programming as we move into full implementation of the programs in the new calendar year. We're still standing up some of the final programs, getting ourselves in the full swing of things, and we expect that to start right in the new year and are looking at what are the resources we need to take that work on head on. So the report itself considers an evaluation of, does consider our existing staff resources and how they can continue to be shifted to meet our staffing needs related to implementation. But then ultimately recommends the need for creation of a total of 109 new positions, 108 of which would be with the housing department. And I'll note that these positions are positions that could be filled through a combination of approaches, including new hires for people who would be new to city service, transferring employees from other departments, as well as providing promotional opportunities for existing staff. And that's really because we're looking at staffing needs really at all levels. So the report itself is released. It has been referred to both the Housing and Homelessness Committee as well as the Personnel and Hiring Committee of the City Council. So following consideration by both committees, we would expect it to advance to the full City Council for consideration. And we're currently awaiting release of a companion report from the City Administrative Officer, CAO, that would likely contain additional recommendations regarding the requests. And so we anticipate following release of that report, tentatively expecting that this report could be ready to be scheduled for our next Housing and Homelessness Committee meeting in the first week of December. So we're hoping that we're continuing on track for that timeline. And then I think I may have alluded to this, but aside from the staffing requests that are related to Tahoe, which is we've discussed in this committee, those positions are supported by the Protections from Tenant Harassment program dollars. All of the other staffing costs associated with these new positions would be fully supported by ULA administration funds. And that would include the COC's budget for the staff in the Office of the Inspector General. I don't want to belabor too much on this background. I think this committee is familiar with the overall structure of ULA, 8% for admin and the remainder being split between the affordable housing program, 70% of the funding, and then 30% on the homelessness prevention programs. We, in terms of assumptions for looking at staffing needs, looked at obviously the program requirements and the anticipated funding that has been allocated or that we expect to be allocated to the programs in the coming years to inform assumptions around the volume of work. And we've talked about revenue continuing to trend upward, but for this year, we allocated approximately $33.9 million in funds to the ULA administration account. So the report requests includes requests for positions throughout all of the bureaus within the housing development, within LHD, the housing department. And so for context, before we kind of dive into those and break down by bureau, I really just wanted to start off with a high level org chart of the existing bureaus, as well as where the proposed new office of the ULA Inspector General would fit in this general structure. And on the following slides, I'll walk through the requested positions and associated responsibilities, but these really represent all of the bureaus within the department, and we do have staffing requests that are touching across all pieces of the department. So starting with the Housing Development Bureau, this department, this bureau, my words are not right today. This bureau is principally responsible for administering our ULA affordable housing programs. You all just heard about some of the work that the Bureau has been doing to implement the Homes for LA NOFA, but that is not all that they do. They don't just prepare our notices of funding availability, but staff within this Bureau review and underwrite our project applications, recommend projects for award of funds. They're also responsible for closing the loans, providing technical services related to the housing development process, loan management, lease up, and occupancy monitoring services. So the assumptions behind these requests are based on the amount of funding that is anticipated to be available for the programs, as set forth in our annual expenditure plan, as well as some of the anticipated milestones associated with new program implementation. In total for the Bureau, we've identified a need for 41 new positions. This would include one staff person within the Bureau's executive office who would really be serving as a data and reporting liaison for the Bureau to help us have access to better information and data around the work of the Bureau. And then 7 positions within the Development and Finance Bureau who would support project underwriting, loan closing for projects funded through primarily the ULA multifamily program, as well as both of the ULA preservation programs that were launched in the recent NOFA. 10 positions are additionally requested for the Housing Strategies and Services Division. This includes a variety of functions, including creating a new unit responsible for administering the Alternative Models new construction program, which would include any work that would be needed to update our rules and regulations for the NOFA following better understanding of how things went with this recent funding round, but also administering future NOFAs, doing underwriting and managing all of the projects for that program. The request for this division also include a staff person who would be responsible for overseeing and monitoring our contract related to the ULA Small NOAA program. And then some additional staff positions to support our homeownership opportunities program, as well as we expect to see a growth of funding through that program. The report also includes a total of 11 positions requested for the Technical Services Division. So that division provides really critical support for projects as they're moving through our pipeline. including support for construction monitoring and oversight, prevailing wage compliance, including reviewing and processing our construction draws, environmental review, relocation compliance, and construction plan review. And then last but very certainly not least, 12 positions for the asset management division are requested. And those staff would be responsible for managing and monitoring all projects in our growing loan portfolio. And that group's functions include implementation of the ULA operating assistance program as well as providing loan servicing for all of our ULA funded projects. That division also includes staff who process our replacement unit determinations and land use covenants, support our lease up process, as well as occupancy monitoring. Moving on to the Regulatory Code and Compliance Bureau, or RCCB. This is the bureau that's primarily responsible for administering our homelessness prevention programs. I will note this is the bureau where we do probably have a more substantial amount of existing ULA funded positions already. That includes our existing tenant anti-harassment or Tahoe team, which, as I've noted, is funded by the ULA Protections from Tenant Harassment program, as well as positions that we've previously had approved through the budget who support the ULA Eviction Defense and Prevention program. So what the report has identified here is the areas where we still see a need for additional capacity. This includes support for the tenant outreach and education program, as well as the short-term emergency assistance program. So getting us some dedicated staff to help move forward and implement those programs. And then additionally, the report does request 2 additional housing investigator positions for our Tahoe unit, and that will really enable us to fully staff out that team with the resources necessary to more effectively implement and enforce our Tahoe. So that's a total of 6 positions requested for that bureau. Moving forward to the Administration Bureau, this is really our critical backbone of services for all of the staff which are necessary to ensure effective and efficient functioning of our programs. This includes our accounting, contracts and procurement teams, budget, payroll, systems, and other critical administrative functions. So in total, the report requests 45 new positions for the Administration Bureau, and that breaks down as follows. 8 positions for administrative services, who would be responsible for supporting with budget requests, tracking our expenditures, contracts and procurement, so supporting some of the things we've talked about here and helping us move forward some of our procurement efforts and execution of contracts, purchasing, as well as critical support for Public Records Act requests. Additionally, 30 positions are requested for the accounting division, and that would really support all of the accounting, auditing, and payroll needs related to ULA, as well as our new ULA funded staff. And I would note that this includes dedicated teams that would provide accounting functions for both the affordable housing programs as well as the homelessness prevention program, so sort of distinct teams. And then additionally, 7 positions are requested for the systems division, who would support our systems infrastructure and network requirements related to like building out our online applications, supporting our data warehousing, and supporting our reporting efforts as well. So these are really critical investments to help us ensure things like we have timely payments to our contractors and partners, and helping us ensure that our online applications are going to be user-friendly and accessible. Moving forward to the executive management division. So this includes our strategic engagement and policy team, as well as a proposed new communications and external affairs unit. Within, I guess my talking points are out of order with the slide. So I'll start with strategic engagement and policy. We're requesting a total of 6 positions. These would support our existing policy and data team and help build out additional capacity to support with performance management, data analytics and reporting, helping us do additional policy research, and evaluation of our programs. So when this committee starts work to do program evaluations, these are the team that would support some of that work and then support with any potential identification of refinements to program guidelines, for example. That would be coming out of this team. Additionally, on this team, one of the positions is requested to support administration and oversight of the ULA capacity building program. And then on the communications and external affairs team, this is proposing really a reconsolidation, a shifting and a restructuring of our existing communications team and adding needed capacity there. So it's currently part of our strategic engagement and policy group. It would create a new division focused on communications and external affairs and really build up that capacity to better support proactive communications efforts, really intended to help increase public awareness of our ULA funded programs and services, and also help support with more targeted stakeholder outreach, and as well as support with council relations so that we can really be out there helping make sure that folks are getting access to information about the programs. Second to last is the Office of the ULA Inspector General. And I know we have additional agenda item. Yes. Yes.
All right, before you go in, just mic reminder.
Sorry. Someone's going to ask the question, so let me just ask it and put it out there.
Mhm.
And I had asked earlier by email this question regarding how many of the positions are actually new positions as opposed to the reassignment of existing LAHD staff to these positions, right? So that, if you can answer that question first, and then I have a follow-up.
These are all new positions.
Brand new hires.
So the way that our kind of like position requests and authorities work, right? So we have existing, and this may be your second question. So we have 886 approved position authorities currently within the department. Those are staff who are assigned to certain functions. So take our code and code enforcement staff. Those positions are dedicated to provide that function. So we're requesting a total of 108 new staff positions that would be dedicated to supporting these functions. Now, how we actually fill the roles, I sort of started to allude to this, but I can speak to it in more specificity, right? Can be through a combination of approaches. Some of the job classifications are available for open applications through the civil service process. So that means that any external candidate could apply for that job classification. Some of them, which may be more promotional opportunities, would be that they would be promotional and open to existing city staff. It could be in any department who might qualify for that position. And that's sort of a function of our civil service hiring process. But these are 108 new positions, staff who would be staffed in them. These would be new functions. If they were moved, transferring from another assignment, that existing assignment would need to be staffed with a different staff person to carry on that work. So this is anticipating new workloads. I'm not sure if that's getting to your question, but the other thing I'll say is I think I tried to run a quick calculation. I think about a little over half of the positions, about 59, are classifications that would be open to external candidates. About 50 of them are more of a promotional opportunity, but I will say one caveat to that is that that's if we're hiring off of our lists. Some of them we may pursue an emergency appointment, and I think sometimes we can pursue external candidates through emergencies. I've got personnel here who can help me with if I'm getting any of this wrong. I got it right, yes.
So potentially there may be 50 of the positions would come out from the outside into the city.
I counted about 59 that are open to external definitely, but potentially additional if we pursue emergency appointments outside of the civil service
So let
hiring.
me ask you the obvious question, and I'm doing this basically, we're an oversight committee, so there's perhaps some oversight. Someone's gonna ask the question at some point. This city basically just faced a $1 billion deficit. Again, I'm sure all the departments are trying to figure out ways to basically support their respective department budgets. Okay, to what extent is LAHD potentially, using this program to help cover their department deficit?
It would not, it would be to carry out the functions that are envisioned for these positions. I think one thing that could happen is that if staff are slated for position elimination in future budget rounds, they could be transferred into the positions, but they would not be doing the work of that other department. They would be doing the work of this position.
That's correct.
Yes. And I've got personnel.
Hi, I'm Alfonso Perez. I work in the personnel section. So yeah, with personnel, Kelly pretty much summed it up. There's a variety of ways to hire them. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with civil service, but they have what's called open and promotion. And some of these things are only promotional, so we can hire off a list, which means it'll be an existing city employee. But eventually, it'll go down where it'll create a vacancy at a lower level, so somebody will come into the city. So that's why you mentioned about 59 new people might come as a result. But if they do come from other departments, it's going to be strictly to do that position. They're not going to be doing what they did before. So our intent is to find the 108 people that are best qualified for these positions. It'll be through transfer, promotion. If you look at the ones that have like a 2 on there, you see that the Public Information Director 2, those are what we call pay grades. So it's just an internal employee will get that position, and then we'll backfill the position they vacated at the 1 level. So there's going to be a lot of iterations, but ultimately, we'll be able to fill all 108 positions. So
Thank you.
Good.
So yeah, because I had my hand up as Roberto was. That's quite all right. That's quite all right. He kind of, Roberto chimed in regards to an area of concern for me. But I want to go back to the tenant anti-harassment unit. And Callie, you kind of, I heard 2 additional positions, but yet I see documented for the housing investigator 2. So can you clarify for me, is that the 4 or is that 2 in addition to?
These are 2, apologies for that lack of clarity. These are 2 new positions. I'm seeing how quickly I can pull up how many existing we have. I may not be able to do that fast enough. But we've got an existing team of housing investigators, so this would be 2 additional.
So asking the hard question, what was the rationale that you utilized to get to the 2 additional and not 3?
We've requested 2 housing investigator positions in budgets in years past and have not had those positions continued. So this is bringing that request back. It's based on originally, I think, an assessment of the volume of workload and I think having the matching teams of inspectors and investigators. So having that sort of a team structure and so this would be identifying the 2 remaining housing investigators that we've been unable to get approved through the budget in prior years.
So I'm going to put here that that's concerning to me, given the fact that I'm looking at currently what the trend of tenant harassment is and where it's going to go, particularly with the obliteration of federal, state, and local elements that support tenants and renters, namely, and I'll call it out, for example, fair housing. We're noticing a trend that many of the landlords and property owners are harassing tenants in that area, and tenants and residents do not have a avenue to resolve that. The 21,402 is a light number. I guarantee there's a lot more than that. So I would strongly recommend that you advocate for 3 at least, gather the data, obtain the data, and provide that as the rationale, because it's going to get ugly. It's not going to get any better.
And I'd like to interject to piggyback on what Commissioner Knight was saying. I remember originally, earlier last year, the request was for 10 for the Tahoe unit in order to pick up the capacity that was needed. And I think 8 were filled. So there was already a deficit of 2. Is that the deficit that we're talking about from last year that we've already approved? Or is this an additional 2 to the original 10? And if so, did we use those funds that we had allocated for that team of 10 that we originally talked about?
This is an addition.
So that means a total of 12, and we still have 2 that hadn't been filled because we never got a report on the conclusion of the 8 plus 2 that we originally approved.
I may need to confirm that and follow up.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Sia?
My question is a little more simple. If you can go back to the slide after this one, the blue one on executive management. I don't know if I'm tweaking. Sorry.
There is incorrect on this.
Okay.
I forgot to point that out.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was like 12 and 16. I was like, huh.
The 16 is inclusive of the Inspector General, which I haven't gotten to yet. Sorry, thank you.
Okay.
We do have other comments. I believe it was Lewis, then Morales.
Yes, could you perhaps put this request in some context in terms of its scale compared to the full department? Well, the appropriate divisions, current size. If I sort of put on my hat as an outsider, I'd say, wow, that's an awful lot of people implementing the program. Is that what I voted for? And so perhaps you could do that and then talk a little bit about any other assumptions as to, in the Housing Development Bureau, number of projects that would be undertaken, and kind of from a more global perspective, what justifies 108 positions?
Definitely. So I think what I was trying to impress through walking through that is the variety of functions that are being filled by these staff. And on the individual team level, we've tried to be constrained in identifying the additional capacity for each team that is needed to support each of the pieces of the implementation puzzle, right? Our department right now, I believe, has approximately 886 approved position authorities. That's correct. And that is across all aspects of the department's work. That includes, for example, like our code inspector team, other teams throughout the department. So this request is approximately a 12% increase in staff for the department. In terms of, I don't have, unfortunately, ready for you all today a breakdown of staff within each bureau. I do know for Housing Development Bureau, we have about 179 positions right now. And that's really where, maybe your question around assumptions of number of projects is relevant. We're really looking at the increase. We talked about it a little bit in Craig's presentation, really the increase in volume of funding that we're experiencing through ULA. We had over $316 million in funding through this NOFA round by way of assumptions, right? We've looked at the amount of funding that we're expecting through our expenditure plan for this year, as well as we're experiencing an increase. We've seen that continued trend increase in revenue. So expecting an increase in overall throughput of funds that are being administered through that bureau. So that really drove sort of some of the assumptions. I would say I'm hesitant to put a number of projects on that, but expecting that to be a significant increase in workload. I think the other piece that I want to convey is that not only have we previously done maybe one NOFA per year, but that has been focused on one funding program, which is more of our traditional managed pipeline. And we're now seeing an increase to 5 distinct ULA funded funding programs that are going to be made available through multiple funding rounds per year. So it's both an increase in funding and projects, but also an increase in just like the complexity of the programs. Different programs have different requirements and require better more coordination across staff to carry those out. So I hope that's helpful in answering your question.
That's very helpful. I presume that these positions will be filled over an extended period of time. The whole civil service process is not a fast process.
Exactly, that's correct. We'll get to as soon as we can, but civil service, it doesn't work the fastest method, but we're definitely going to try to jump on it as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's more with relate what she asked, but the other part is like, this is complete, ULA is new. And I understand the position are new too. Do you have the job description? How is going to be that process? Who is going to reach that people? They are going to have trainings? It's a lot of questions. And for me, it's like how to have that information because we need to be very clear with everyone.
Absolutely.
And that's why we are here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we talked about for civil service, for the ones that are existing, there'll be an examination. Like for management analysts, there'll be a bulletin out and people can apply. For those that are open, they'll also be for the whole community, right? So it goes on the personnel department's website, different agencies. Take a test, they get on the list, they score. We interview them, and then we select the best qualified people for the job. That's kind of a summary of it. Training, they have a probationary period when people come on board. So they have 6 months, 1 year for the higher level. So during that time, they get training, development, so they could do the full range of duties. So that's how that works. And if they're transfers, like they already have existing positions, they're already management analysts, they should come in pretty seamlessly and just be trained on the specifics of that job. So everyone here will get training when they're appointed to be able to perform the specific duties, of ULA.
Yeah, in the terms of the training, it's like, this is urgent. We need that people ready to work, right?
Absolutely.
And one is my concern is about how they are going to work with the senior people. Who is that person who is going to work in that project for the seniors too? This is something you identify some specific qualities or qualification to do that? Or how is that?
So are you referring to the income support program for seniors or more broadly?
Yes.
So for the income support program, I think one thing maybe to stress with that, like many of our programs, is that we'll continue to work with partners as well. So one of the pieces that we're actually continuing to work with CIFD to identify is how we can work with other partners, whether that's the family source centers or the multi-purpose centers that are run through the Department of Aging to support with that outreach and helping do that connection. I also hear you that it's really critical that staff are trained appropriately as well. And that would certainly be for staff who are would be put into those assignments. That would certainly be part of even, through the selection process, something I think potentially looked at.
Absolutely. The higher level managers come with they have the expertise. So their job is to train their subordinates to be able to perform it. So that's the expectation. And people selected for the highest level position, they will be vetted out to make sure they have that knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
Recognize Commissioner Barragan.
Yeah, as a follow-up, I just wanted to support Commissioner Knight and others who have spoken to the need for more housing investigators. I mean, that position and other positions you have here are direct service. You're in an unusual position where you're providing direct services. And I think frankly, I'm less interested in a new public information director and other executive manager positions when in fact we need folks on the ground doing the business and addressing the issues that are coming up right now. So if we have, the opportunity to basically impact your staffing plan, I'd say we need to see more investigators and more of any other place where direct services is being provided is more important than information or policy planning.
And I'd also like to interject and comment after Commissioner Knight.
So for clarification, I see that we have for the executive management piece, communication and external affairs, but yet under the Regulatory Code and Compliance Bureau, we have a communications information representative 1. Can you provide the distinction, or will that position interlink in regards to the public information area for which it indicates? How will those two coalesce? Because I get where you're going in regards to organizationally, you want those buckets to ride where it's communication or public relations. But then when you have those regulatory bit, how does that connect in regards to that outreach and education piece?
Great question. So the positions within the RCCB Bureau, I believe two of these positions would be supporting the outreach and education activities that are currently through our various contracts. So through the Tahoe Outreach and Education, the ULA Outreach and Education Program, right? Like these are the folks who would be staffing and overseeing those contracts where we're working with external partners. And then the communications information representative position, what that is hotline staff. And we have gotten hotline staff approved, I think, in one of our recent budgets. So this is reflecting the need for some additional capacity there. Whenever we start a new program, council passes a new, something new, we see an influx in calls to our hotline. So when we launched the application for our ERAP program, we saw a huge surge in calls to our hotline, folks looking for a way to get in touch with the department for support with their application, for example. So that's what this reflects. In terms of the communications and external affairs positions, this is supporting a variety of communications efforts, including some of our, certainly the graphics work, right? So that's supporting with digital communications, supporting some of the work that I know members of the communications ad hoc have had conversations with our existing comms team around need for some additional support. These are the folks who provide support with media, press releases, media outreach, but also one of the things that we're looking at building up additional capacity for with these requests is support to actually go out and work with community stakeholders. So when we get invited to go out and meet with, if a council office is looking for someone to come out, neighborhood councils, other community groups, this is so that we can have staff who can actually go out in the field and do that type of outreach to just help share information around what is the Tahoe program? How do I get plugged into those resources? Stuff like that.
Thank you very much. I think one of the questions that I had was regarding our Tahoe and the hiring from previously. And I was trying to figure out where those folks, new hires, or did they transition in from other parts of the department that are now working on the Tahoe team? But my concern is, and I'm gonna say this in all caps: training is really, really necessary, because what I'm seeing with boots on the ground is, even though we have an increased capacity for that department, I'm seeing the same mindset and the same problems that the tenants are having are repeating themselves, even with an increased capacity. So I'm just going to say training. I just want to put it out there for discussion. I'm really concerned about, are they coming in with a new understanding of what needs to happen and how the tenants need to be protected. And of course, all of the other aspects of all of our 11 programs, or are they coming in with the same mindset? And is it going to be business as usual? Because we really need to see some transparency, some oversight, and the tenants are really suffering out there. Vice Chair?
So I think what we talked earlier about the need to rethink some of the ad hoc committees or earlier it was discussed that there needed to be an ad hoc committee on Tahoe. And so I think that what you might see what you should see in the early part of the year is that ad hoc committee that will want to, I think, talk about training, probably want to talk about capacity building opportunities, further training opportunities for the Tahoe folks, and get into the nitty-gritty about how to evaluate the program. Does that sound right?
Yes, in addition to making sure that they understand what's happening with the tenants' boots on the ground, because I'm not seeing the ordinance be followed as it should be. Sometimes I'm seeing it being blocked for them to utilize the ordinance to its capacity. And I'm just trying to figure out, is it the old mindset, or is it that they really need to break down how this ordinance is written and all 17 aspects, and are the tenants actually getting served the way the ordinance was written? And so we really want to have another committee in order to evaluate and hear more from tenants that are going through the things that were like mentioned in the public comments today. Commissioner Knight.
Madam Chair piqued an interesting question for me. So is there a way for, and again, I understand the civil service role, but is there a way to work with us in regards to developing a direct specific question to gauge that interpersonal or skill set that is directly built into, for example, Tahoe? It takes a special person to really, truly, not only the regulatory, you have to have that interpersonal skill to relate to a person who has been traumatized because they're dealing with a habitability issue for multiple years. Is there a way that we can craft a specific interview question to elicit that capacity that should be designed for that position?
Yeah, I think we can, definitely.
That sounds wonderful. And I'd also like, yeah, I don't know if the rest of my commissioners would like to see copies of the job descriptions for the Tahoe programs. Commissioner?
You asked the question. I think it would be good to see how they're crafted. Okay, it would be good to see how the descriptions are crafted so that they clearly state what the need is with respect to performance, that this is the need that needs to be addressed. And I was listening, and what I thought was, when you mentioned, is it going to be business as usual, to encapsulate it? If during the training process, it's possible to present what has occurred to impress upon the trainee that this is not the goal. This is the goal, that there's a distinction between what has been. You could kind of think of that as the history has been, that's just an example. Previously, it has gone this way. We did not reach the desired outcomes. The new order is would be very specific so that a person understands. This may come to mind, but this is not what's necessary and what's required and what's needed. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely, and I
That
concur.
you can dispense with what has occurred by informing people about what the techniques were or the approach was, and that this is about change and being effective and efficient, which the old order didn't deliver. If there's a way to hold up a mirror, not looking at themselves because they're new, but seeing how it's gone to enlighten them about what the core objectives are.
I think to the point, if we develop a ad hoc committee that will dive in data-wise and analyze, we can effectively make a recommendation regarding a training mechanism where it's real life, that you present scenarios in regards to the interview process, and that you can elicit a certain response, and that will gauge in regards to your scoring mechanism. I know within the civil service, we can be innovative and creative in regards to utilizing that.
And I appreciate
you.
that. Thank you to the rest of my commissioners. I also want to state that, once we have our IG and our tenant council, that's going to change into something else. So just have that in the back of your minds and on the back burner. Awesome. Thank you.
Shall I continue?
I return that. You have the floor, Callie.
I have like one more slide. They might have questions for you, but you can sit down. So last, I'll talk us through the proposal that's included within the staffing plan for the Office of the ULA Inspector General. So the report includes the necessary positions to establish this new office. As provided by the measure, right, the city is responsible for providing adequate dedicated staffing for the Citizen Oversight Committee. This specifically includes the role of an Inspector General, who is to act as the lead staff person serving this body, as well as additional supporting staff that the Inspector General has the authority to hire. As you all are also well aware, this role is currently being filled on an interim basis by the IIG team at Estelano, and we've been super appreciative of their work, but have been working to identify a plan for transitioning to a permanent home for the Inspector General. I think one of the things that we've tried to thread with this proposal is how to best incorporate the very specific parameters around the role of the IG into the city's hiring and personnel framework. So one of the things that we were able to identify in particular is that the role of the Inspector General does need to be an exempt at-will position. This is both clear in the language of the measure, but also necessary for the COC to be able to participate in a meaningful way, right, in the hiring of that candidate. I lost my thread of my talking points, but basically what this proposed structure is intending to do, right, is to align with those requirements. So I covered the exemption process. So this staff person would be reporting directly to the Citizen Oversight Committee, and I want that to be clear. While this is a position that we're proposing to house within the Housing Department, our expectation is that they are your staff and they're reporting to you for direction. Organizationally, they're shown within an org chart that reports up to our executive officer and general manager, and that's really to identify a home for this staff person within the city framework. They would be reporting to them for really basic administrative things like
filling out your timesheets, getting timesheets approvals and items like that. But our expectation is that they are really reporting to you all for direction on all of their duties. Those duties include, right, all of the work of the COC, setting the agendas for your meetings, running your meetings, developing your ad hoc committee work plans, and working with you all to facilitate those ad hoc committees. But also the other pieces of work that you all have gotten familiar with over the last year, conducting the annual audit, supporting with the program evaluation, which we're looking forward to kicking off in the new year. The various other, the town hall, how could I forget the town hall? Planning the town hall. So the various duties that are enumerated within the measure, but then another really key piece of this function, as you all are aware, and I think that kind of highlighted the need for this earlier in this meeting, right, is also being a key liaison for this body within the city, so that you have a point of contact who is advocating for the interests of the COC with members of the city council, with LHD, with the mayor's office, and other both city representatives as well as other key stakeholders. To support all of that work, we're anticipating a need for a team of three full-time staff. And these are staff who would be reporting directly to the Inspector General, right? The way that we've proposed to structure this office is that 2 of the staff would be supporting the work of the Citizen Oversight Committee, so many of the functions that I just described in those day-to-day duties. And then 1 additional staff person would be requested to staff and support the work of our yet-to-be-launched Tenant Council. And the Tenant Council is another component of the ULA measure that we have not yet stood up and launched. It is an advisory body composed of 15 tenants from throughout all of the council districts in the city who are expected to meet on a quarterly basis and advise this body as well as LHD on many of the homelessness prevention and tenant protection programs. So I think I will maybe pause there, but as I know we'll get into discussion on our next item, we have also been working with the Governance Ad Hoc Committee to work through a recommended hiring process as well as job description for this role, and really looking to ensure that we have full participation of this body as we move forward in filling and selecting the candidate for this position. I will just also note, I don't know why I stuck this slide at the end, but there's also 1 additional staff position included in the report, which is a staff position for the Bureau of Contract Administration. This is outside of LHD, but a key partner for us. They conduct all of our project labor agreement compliance and monitoring. They have gotten 2 positions approved in the budget already for this fiscal year. So this would be 1 additional staff person, again, to support that increase in projects coming through that have a PLA compliance component. Sorry, that's very out of order, but I suspect most of the questions will be here, so I'll stop there.
Commissioner Root.
Okay, I have a question regarding when you were speaking about the Inspector General and the job description, and you mentioned that individual would have the discretion to hire staff. So my first question is, the staff that they would hire, is that additional staff from all the staff that were outlined throughout the discussion in the meeting?
So it would be the 3 staff positions identified here. So I will do my best to describe this, but if Alfonso wants to help, but to be able to hire in the city, we need to create positions that can be filled, and I will hand it off to my personnel friend.
Okay, and then it's a 2-part question.
Okay, yeah, to start, I think Kelly answered it, but those are just regular positions.
Yeah, okay, so they're within the list.
They're within the list, that's correct.
Okay, and then it was mentioned 2. And then when you mentioned 2 people, you said, and an additional 1. And then toward the end of the discussion, you mentioned an additional one, not necessarily affiliated with the inspector, but that person that needs to do specific things relevant to what you're doing. So the two are within what was described, +1, and then the other +1. So are the +1 and the other +1, are they within the list of hires you mentioned earlier?
So to clarify, and I may have botched this, so to clarify, there's a total of 4 positions included in the request for this new Office of the Inspector General. So the 4 positions include 1 Inspector General, which would be the exempt job classification, as well as 3 supporting staff, of which 2 would be generally assigned to support the day-to-day work of this committee, and 1 would support the emergent work of the ULA Tenant Council.
Okay.
But it'd be a total of 4.
Okay, so the Inspector General was not one of those on the list. This is an additional of the list of new hires. Was the Inspector General one of those?
Yes. So
And then they can hire, or they may need 3 additional people. So they become 1, and then the other 3 make the 4.
correct. And so
Okay.
these are of the 100, these are included in the total of 108.
Got it.
These 4 positions.
Yes.
And one thing you said, which made me realize perhaps I should provide clarification as well. The Inspector General is a working title. The job classification and what you'll see in the recommendations in the report is Principal Project Coordinator.
Okay.
And the thinking behind that is that we were looking to, what are the available positions that or job classifications that exist within the city that can have an exemption attached to them.
Okay.
And so the idea there is that we're using that existing job classification which has along with it all of the salary scale and all of the components, because we don't have a job classification within the city that is the title Inspector General.
Okay.
So to clarify that.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? Oh, thank you. Commissioner Knight.
Callie, I think it would be appropriate to rework this org chart because this would scare me. Based on what I heard you say, they would be housed under LAHD, but if I look at that org chart, there would actually be more direct interaction in the workings of LAHD. So if I'm going by what implementation is, we have the COC, which would then have an outshoot in regards to the tenant council. Then in the middle would be the Inspector General. Now we can have a dotted line to indicate it's housed under LAHD, but I'm looking at this and it looks like it would be responsible. LAHD would be responsible for the IG.
I very much accept those amendments to the way the org chart is designed and neglected to, you're right, the tenant council should be at the top there as well. Thank you.
Great observation. Thank you. Oh, yes, Commissioner.
So connected to that, I was just wondering, where is it like written and memorialized that the IG is kind of this, I know it's obviously in the code, so aside from the code, but like within, LAHD and your whatever, if that's the org description or whatever, where is it memorialized that there is this level of independence? Because I think we all have understanding and buy-in here. Love that LAHD has the buy-in as well. I'm thinking about like 10 years from now when, there may be new people in these positions. So is there any place where we have that clarity that we'll be able to point back to, when we've all moved on to other exciting projects?
Yeah, and there's a language in the exemption that gives you a lot of flexibility. And that's why we picked an exempt class, because it gives you, and it's kind of a, I don't want to say generic, but it's got duties, but it's flexible enough where you could make it fit for something like this. So it's under the exemption, and we can look at some language. It won't be exactly, but it'll tell you that you can use the exempt position to fill these kind of positions that they don't have a niche for.
Yeah, can I just clarify? Because I think my point though is more, and I don't know if the exemption will get to this, and maybe it does, is more that like what was just reported to us was that LHD, the executive officer will like sign off on timesheets. Like there's certain administrative things that you all have to
Talking
do.
about the reporting thing.
Yes, but I'm talking more about like, but this position is primarily responsive
Oh,
to the COC and, you know, acts with independence in that way.
That's why we had to redesign that.
So that is certainly in the language of our report that will be before the city council for consideration and approval. The other thing that I think we'll get into a little bit when we talk about process is the COC's role in not only hiring this candidate, but doing ongoing performance evaluation of this candidate, right? And within the measure, there's language that the city council can remove the candidate for cause. So I think functionally, you know, what could happen is a recommendation from this body could come forward to the COC, right? I mean, sorry, to the city council. I don't know if that's fully answering maybe exactly the question you're asking, but I think there's pieces within both the code, the way we're proposing to structure this office, and then the report itself that we put together that I think will carry that through line.
Yeah, the exempt wouldn't carry that language. It's in the report itself that talks about that. But when you get into the reporting the actions, you know, like Kelly summarized, but if that did happen, we'd be there to support you and kind of guide you as to how it would carry out with the evaluations. We wouldn't get involved in, you know, doing it, of course, but we'd help guide you guys toward that direction.
If I might add, I think we can also write that into our bylaws that we support this kind of like distinction. So maybe that's something we can consider as a part of ad hoc work for the year.
I guess I'm less concerned about the COC's position because, I mean, our position is we have most of the direction and control. Like, you know, I'm more concerned about a moment where there is disagreement between the COC and LHD. And so clarifying LHD's position is what I'm primarily concerned about in this too.
And also, I'd like to just add that in the Los Angeles Administrative Code, section 22.618.6G is the duties of our IG. So that encompasses part of this flow chart and some of the other things. So, is everyone good? Yes, Commissioner Lewis.
Yes, we received a letter from United to House LA that commented on the classification for the IIG position. And I share some of the concerns that they raised about the job description, the salary level, and the qualifications there. As I read the job description, requires a minimum of 5 years of experience. In my experience, that's really not adequate for what we are asking this person to take on. In terms of salary levels, I'm out of the market long enough that I don't want to comment on salary levels, although it's a question to me as to the adequacy of that. I leave that to the exact salary level to some of my other commissioners. I'm interested in the department's response to that, if you have one at this point.
I'll just say, I think, you know, in putting this together, we were really trying to identify, you know, the job classifications that are available to us that carry an exemption, that are aligned with sort of the scope of the duties, the expectations for this role, as well as,
consideration of how the expectations for this role, may compare to equivalent positions within the city structure. I will say it is difficult to identify the perfect fit for this function. We don't really have anything quite like this Inspector General within the city here. I think maybe two streams of comment I want to say is one, looking at the size of the team. I certainly understand the kind of complexity of the role and what this person would be expected to be navigating, and that increases maybe certain qualifications that this committee might want to look for with a candidate to be able to have that sort of leadership skill set. But in terms of at least looking at comparable, like on an org chart, this is a person who would be supervising a team of 3, compared to an assistant general manager of our Housing Development Bureau who's overseeing a team of nearly 180 staff. So I think that was just some of the consideration that we were looking at in trying to strike a balance here with this proposal, and also, trying to consider, a proposal that is kind of has its best foot forward for consideration by the city council as well. So I don't know that I have maybe a direct response to, an alternative job classification, but those are some of the considerations that we were looking at as we were working with personnel as well to evaluate, what options are out there for us.
If I might add, there's a salary range, if you'll notice, on principal project coordinator. This committee has the flexibility to determine the starting salary range in steps. So I think it's like 120 to 175 or something like that. So if you feel they're eminently qualified and they deserve the highest, you can make that recommendation. They can be started off at the highest salary. If they need work, you can start them off at the lower range. Because by default, when somebody comes in, they start at step 1, the lowest range. But, I don't think that's going to cut it here. So when you guys do an assessment, you can determine what the starting salary is for that individual.
Good to know.
And actually, that reminds me of my other stream of thought that I wanted to raise as well on the qualifications. And we can get into this on the next, not to mingle our agenda items, but there are the kind of baseline requirements, but then this hiring committee can also look at what are the preferred qualifications in evaluating all of the candidates. So just to share that as well.
One of the things I noted, I just want to add, I know you guys thought about this, you've added a master's degree, and that's great. But one of the alternatives we've done in the city is instead of a master's degree, we'll allow like an additional 3 or 5 years. So you might want to consider that only because you might eliminate a lot of people with that master's degree. I just want to put that out there for your consideration so we don't eliminate some potentially really good candidates.
Any more discussion? Commissioner Knight, you had your hand.
Actually, he hit me right in the heart with what I was going to say.
All right, thank you. All right. So we've had a very lengthy discussion. I'd like to note the time. We've gone considerably over 4:30, which is our usual time. Is everyone still okay to continue? We have 2 more items.
Madam Chair, if you note on the agenda, there was no end time, so we can continue.
All right, beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so does this close item number 8 and we can move on to item number 9?
It's agendized as an action item. Is there a motion to entertain? Would the motion be to approve recommendation to city council to support?
Well, did we want to
Staffing
take
plan?
and do them as individual action items, or did we want to do them as?
Well,
a
that is an
collective?
action
That is
item.
an action item. So
Specific to item 8.
Okay,
Item 9 has 3 separate action items.
all right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I can entertain a motion.
so move.
Second? And did we get,
Call vote?
yeah. Since we've had discussion, can we call for a vote?
Yes. Chairperson Jones,
Yes.
Vice Chair Espinosa Coulter,
Yes.
Committee Member Abarca,
Yes.
Committee Member Barragan. Currently absent. Committee Member Holland.
Yes.
Committee Member Knight.
Yes.
Committee Member Lewis.
Yes.
Committee Member Morales.
Yes.
Committee Member Nishimoto.
Yes.
Committee Member Reed.
Yes.
Committee Member Romero.
Yes.
Committee Member Rout.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Governance Ad Hoc Committee on proposed permanent inspector general hiring and the boss. I'd like to take pass the floor over to my vice chair.
Thank you. Okay, so today, we're going to take 3 actions, as was alluded to earlier, or we're asking for 3 actions with this particular item. We're we may approve the permanent inspector general job description. We may approve the permanent inspector general hiring process. We may approve the COC representatives for the permanent inspector general hiring committee. And so those are the actions that we'll take at the end of this particular item. So I'm here today to present the job description and the hiring plan for the role of the permanent inspector general. The Governance Ad Hoc Committee has been working diligently on this process, and today I'm speaking as a representative of that committee. As you all may know, our current COC staff from Estelano Advisors were hired in late 2023 on an interim basis to serve the needs of the committee and its members and to liaison with LAHD and city offices. We are now in the implementation phase of Measure ULA. As implementation of programs continue, we are excited to transition to a permanent staffing plan, which will ensure consistency in implementation and provide permanence to those important programs in the structure of Measure ULA. Could somebody advance the slides?
We do have a presentation.
We have a presentation?
All right, thank you.
Excellent. So if you could advance just one more slide. Great. This slide details the organizational chart. We've already discussed the organizational chart within LAHD, where the Office of the ULA Inspector General will be housed, noting, of course, the amendments that will be made to the organizational chart. The Inspector General is a singular exempt position who will oversee 3 full-time civil service staff to serve the COC and to stand up the ULA Tenant Council when it's created. The Inspector General reports to both the LAHD General Manager and executive staff and the ULA COC. The COC retains hiring and firing abilities for this position and will engage in oversight of the performance and duties of this position, including holding annual performance reviews of the Inspector General. Next slide, please. Next, let's go over the job description of the Inspector General and highlight key requirements, responsibilities, and considerations for this position. The full job description is provided as a supplement item within your agenda packets. I don't know if everybody had a chance to review the job description. So specifically, or the highlights are this: they serve as the lead staff person and facilitator to the ULA COC. They prepare requisite presentations, reports, and other materials. They have authority to hire and fire and manage additional staff and consultants as needed. They will collaborate with the COC leadership and LAHD in establishing an annual COC budget, managing workloads and work scopes, and they will facilitate quarterly meetings and ongoing operations of the ULA Tenant Council. Next slide, please. This, oh goodness, lost my place. This next slide outlines key roles and responsibilities of the office. These roles and responsibilities were developed by the COC and LAHD with input from the current IIG about the day-to-day duties of the role and requirements of the position. I feel like we are missing a slide.
Actually, it was the previous slide.
It was the previous slide?
Roles and responsibilities.
I apologize. There we go. We're missing a slide.
Oh.
Well, okay, so let's talk about the requirements. As is mentioned already, there is a 4-year degree requirement and possession of a master's degree. I understand today that that could be amended if we so choose. And then there's a minimum of 5 years of full-time paid professional experience in a field, and I want you to pay attention to this list very closely, in the field of local, state, or federal government, community organizing, affordable housing, homelessness prevention, tenant protections / tenant rights, legal services, or community outreach as it relates to design, implementation, or oversight of a large-scale policy or program. And they must have at least 3 years of which, at least 3 years of those must be in a supervisory role. So again, I want to go over the list because it was deliberated pretty extensively. We'd like them to have experience in local, state, or federal government, community organizing, affordable housing, homelessness prevention, tenant protections or tenant rights, legal services, or community outreach. So, okay. But letting that marinate and sit with folks. Maybe we should pause. Well, let me keep going and then we'll come back to this. Let's go on to the next slide. This slide outlines the preferred qualifications for this position based on the duties that the IIG performs now, but also desired duties and tasks which the Governance Ad Hoc Committee deemed critical to the success of the office and implementation of Measure ULA. We require that they have knowledge of programs supported by ULA, policies affecting affordable housing production, preservation, and tenant stability, administrative agencies of the City of Los Angeles, the Brown Act, the city code, the city charter and administrative code, and of supervisory principles and practices. The abilities that we would like are for them to liaison between the COC, LHD, and city officials. We want them to interact effectively with members of the COC, ULA Tenant Council, city officials, department employees, the UHLA Coalition, community leaders, vendors, service providers, stakeholders, and the public. We would like them to facilitate public meetings and support meaningful public participation. We would like them to manage a team of 3 full-time professional staff. That concludes my presentation. I see a hand.
And I recognize Commissioner Knight.
You're right on target in regards to where I have a concern. Can we say be familiar with LA City Charter? Because that is going to possibly change in the coming years. And so I know that not a lot of people know all of the city charter and know all of how it operates. So can we just term that to be familiar with or have some relational aspect to it? The knowledge bit, nobody has that. Not even my favorite friend over there.
I don't know how we go about amending. How do we go about amending? That seems fine. We've got a head nod, yes. That's fine.
And that exact wording was be familiar with
The city charter.
I recognize Commissioner.
Just for maybe making it easier. I mean, I think because it's a preferred qualification, I'm not concerned about having knowledge of be there because like if we're talking about the best would be someone who does have good knowledge. That is a preferred qualification. If they don't, then any familiarity with it is still like it's not a required qualification. So I think it's fine as is. And it would just mean it's more straightforward to move this forward.
Not to have, excuse me, thank you. Not to be completely familiar with it. If an individual has access, ability to fact check and review, then I think that's reasonable. What do you think? If they have the information available and they can reference it as needed, then, as you say, being familiar with it as opposed to the way it's written.
Possibly peruse it before the interview?
Well, sometimes, you know what, sometimes what's said is familiarize yourself with this information prior to. It's a gimme, or offer.
Commissioner?
Can we just clarify preferred qualification? So if they have zero knowledge, they could still be hired. It's not a requirement, correct? So, okay. Thank you.
That was my thought.
Yeah.
So Madam Chair, to expedite this process, the draft document we have indicates familiarity. The PowerPoint does not. So we have to intertwine the two to make sure that is on that language, because that goes out.
So it's familiar on the job description. Okay, there we go. So it's in the job description that they need to be familiar.
We're just seeking that the PowerPoint, which has another element to it, align with what this document is.
Just maybe clarify. I think that maybe just for clarification of public record, which I think is the concern, is that people should be looking at the actual job description, which has already been provided, is with the agenda, is with the attachments. This is a summary, but what we're actually talking about is this job description that is available to the public and already posted.
Excellent clarification.
But again, to counter that, this was presented to the COC, making it public record. It has to align.
And
All right.
apologies, committee members. Not sure. There we go. Just want to clarify as well, the document that is before you today for consideration of potential approval is the full job description, which is included in the agenda.
Excellent. Any more discussion? All right. Having considered and discussed the Inspector General job description, I will entertain a motion.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Excellent. All right, so we have moved and seconded. Call for a vote? Yes.
Vice Chair Espinosa Coulter.
Yes.
Committee Member Abarca.
Yes.
Committee Member Barragan.
That's you. But yes, on both.
Sorry.
Committee Member Holland.
Yes.
Committee Member Knight.
Aye.
Committee Member Lewis.
Yes.
Committee Member Morales.
Yes.
Committee Member Nishimoto.
Yes.
Committee Member Reed.
Yes.
Committee Member Romero.
Yes.
Committee Member Rout.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent. All right. Turn it back over to you, Vice Chair.
All right. So next on the agenda, thank you, Chair Jones. Now we're going to discuss the very crucial Inspector General hiring process. Can you bring up the slide regarding the process? Okay. We have brought up a particular section of the measure a couple of times today, and so I'm going to bring it up one more time. Pursuant to 22.618.6 G2 of Measure ULA, the Oversight Committee shall hire an Inspector General as the lead staff person serving the Oversight Committee, and the Inspector General has authority to hire or fire additional staff and expend budgeted resources as needed. With this in mind, the Governance Ad Hoc Committee, alongside of LAHD, proposes the following process to hire a candidate to serve as the Inspector General. Okay, so the process is this. The city council and mayor are required to approve the inspector general position, have approved the inspector general position and exemption via the ULA staffing plan report pending. I said had hired, but the staffing report is coming up. Thank you. That's the first thing. The COC must approve the job description in the hiring process. We just did the job description. We're about to do the hiring process. The COC will assign 2 to 3 COC members to participate in the interview panel / selection committee, along with 1 LAHD representative. Personnel posts the approved job description, receives application, and conducts initial eligibility screening. The interview panel and the selection committee hold the interviews. The interview panel and the selection committee makes a hiring recommendation, and then personnel extends the conditional job offer to recommend the candidate. Okay. So that is the process. I'm going to move on to the next thing, and we're going to keep talking about this. So the governance committee has met, and I'm sorry, next slide. Then we will approve the inspector general hiring.
Sorry.
So we have 2 potential actions that are happening right now. We need to approve the inspector general hiring process, and we need to approve the COC representatives for the interview panel and selection committee. So let me get into the who the governance committee has proposed for the hiring committee. We have recommended Commissioner Abarca and Commissioner Holland they've agreed to serve on the hiring committee, I should say. Commissioner Holland was a key contributor to developing the inspector general job description and process, and both commissioners represent diverse perspectives from both real estate development and tenant organizing lenses, and will be great assets to selecting a candidate. So I think that with that, I should hand it back to you. Sure. To lead discussion, I believe.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We wanted to take and make sure there was at least 5 people on that committee, on that ad hoc committee. Can we take in volunteers?
On the hiring committee?
On the ad hoc?
So that's actually in relation to the governance ad hoc, which we'll consider in 2 agenda items from now. But for the hiring committee, we're having 2 COC members serve on the hiring panel.
Number 2. All right, so maybe we should discuss the process and yeah, I guess that would be great. Do you want to take that? Any discussion on what we just heard, or the process, the hiring process? Is it no?
Maybe just for my own clarification question, personnel, meaning who's personnel? Sorry. Great. Just wanted to double, I was like, who is personnel? Great. Thank you for that.
So it's stated COC assigns 2 to 3 COC members. So we are stating the 2. Is that third in regards to putting an alternate in case Commissioner Barragan or Commissioner Holland cannot fully serve? Or are we committed to 2, just for clarification?
2 or 3? Any discussion on that?
This is Callie Hardy, LHD. I think that's at the discretion of this committee and folks' capacity and how many people want to volunteer to be part of the interview panel. I will say, dependent on the number of applications that come in, that could be a number of interviews, but we would want the same
interview panelists participating in all of the interviews.
So the question is, should we keep it to 2 or add that third? Is that okay?
I think 2 is great. I think it's gonna be hard to do scheduling. Let's go with 2.
Okay. All right, I concur. So do we entertain a motion?
So move.
Oh. Oh. Well. sorry.
Second.
Okay. Oh, having considered and discussed the Inspector General hiring process, I will entertain a motion.
I think it happened.
Yeah.
It happened.
Oh, I missed that. And a second.
Yeah, she second.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for keeping me abreast. Okay. Any discussion, further discussion? No? Can we call for a vote?
It's raining.
Yes.
Vice Chair Espinosa Coulter. Committee Member Barca.
Yes.
Committee Member Barragan.
Yes.
Committee Member Holland.
Yes.
Committee Member Knight.
Aye.
Committee Member Lewis.
Yes.
Committee Member Morales.
Yes.
Committee Member Nishimoto.
Yes.
Committee Member Reed.
Yes.
Committee Member Romero.
Yes.
Committee Member Rout.
Yes.
Motion passes, Chair.
Wonderful. And I thank you to my wonderful city attorney. All right, so that concludes item number 9. No?
That was the motion to approve the hiring process. You still need a motion to
Oh, thank
approve
you.
the COC representatives.
So move.
Oh, thank you.
And then,
Sorry.
second.
Call for a vote.
Chairperson Jones.
Yes.
Vice Chair Espinosa Coulter. Committee Member Barca.
Yes.
Committee Member Barragan.
Yes.
Committee Member Holland.
Yes.
Committee Member Knight.
Aye.
Committee Member Lewis.
Yes.
Committee Member Morales.
Yes.
Committee Member Nishimoto.
Yes.
Committee Member Reed.
Yes.
Committee Member Romero.
Yes.
Committee Member Rout. Motion
Yes.
passes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And that will conclude item number 9. Yay. And then we'll have a presentation from our governance ad hoc committee on proposed permanent inspector general hiring process. Oh. That's the same. Oh. I lost myself. All right. So we can move to item number 10. Oh, there we go. All right. So we can move to item number 10 as an action item to approve the 2026 Governance Ad Hoc Committee and the COC assignments. You will find actually supplemental materials on this item. And according to our bylaws of 2025, ad hoc committees dissolve at the end of the year. And in order to ensure that the work of the governance of the ad hoc committee keeps moving forward, we'd like to approve a new ad hoc committee and discuss for 2026 the governance business and to approve members to serve on this committee. During our next COC meeting, we plan to, we plan to present work streams for additional ad hoc committees after the IIG works alongside members of the Los Angeles Housing Department and to determine the needs of the committee for 2026 and how to best manage our work going forward. Please take a moment to familiarize yourself with the work plan and the proposed 2026 Governance Ad Hoc Committee. Now that I've had time to look at the plan, I'd also like to suggest that there are at least 5 members serve on this committee, and it should allow flexibility for members to shift on and off with the COC. According to our bylaws, we're able to add members at COC meetings with an action item. And if these members are not able to commit today, we may approve additional members at the upcoming meetings. Typically, the Governance Ad Hoc Committee meets once a month, but depending on the needs of the committee. They could also meet more frequent. And do I have any volunteers for 2026? Okay.
We do not have staffing, just there wasn't staffing associated with this. Richard, I found the governance scope, but I thought there was a staffing recommendation for it, or a COC membership recommendation also. I could have made that up.
Like governance scope? I thought we had recommendations, but I'm not.
I have a copy of that.
Participate in governance, did we not make recommendations to, no, I'm mistake.
Any volunteers?
All for volunteers.
Oh,
That's
yay.
where we're at.
Commissioner. Oh, is that a
Here, but
volunteer?
if someone else wants the spot, I was on it last year, so.
Okay. Okay.
We have.
Was that a volunteer, Vice Chair? Okay. All right, I have two. Oh, I have three.
And then can I ask a question? So this is, because this is the same, sorry. I think I could still use the like I'm new card here.
Yes, you can.
So like, this is like a new, because we have the ad hoc governance, right? Which is like, we're continuing it out. But we're revamping with new volunteers for the, great.
So I just want to clarify that the 2025 ad hoc, the governance ad hoc is ending and the 2026 governance ad hoc is starting because ad hoc committee need to serve a temporary time limited purpose to ensure that we're not like a Brown Act compliant meeting essentially. So we're done with the 2025 business and we're starting the 2026 governance ad hoc business.
So to help simplify, the scope of work that the governance was working on was in regards to bylaws and amending and adding there. That's done. This is a new scope.
Let's see. Thank you for that.
And we already have three volunteers.
I want to.
Yes, yes. Oh, there we go.
That's five.
That's five.
Madam Chair, for the record, can you state the committee members who have volunteered and who we will be voting on?
Oh, yes, I have Vice Chair Coulter. I have Commissioner Holland, Commissioner Knight, Commissioner Barragan, and Commissioner Liqua. Abarca. Oh, I see you. Fernando. All right. Do we have all five? Did we get that? Whoever was asking, did they get the five names? Oh,
I think we need a
thumbs up. I
motion
see a
to
thumbs
approve.
up over there.
And I move to approve the 2026 Governance Ad Hoc Committee and the assignments.
Second.
There you go. Beautiful, thank you. All the help I can get. Can we call for a vote? That is a-
Chairperson Jones,
That is a yes.
Vice Chair Espinosa Coulter,
Yes.
Committee Member Barca,
Yes.
Committee Member Barragan,
Yes.
Committee Member Holland,
Yes.
Committee Member Knight, Committee Member Lewis,
Yes.
Committee Member Morales,
Yes.
Committee Member Nishimoto,
Yes.
Committee Member Reed,
Yes.
Committee Member Romero,
Yes.
Committee Member Rout.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Excellent. And that will conclude item number 10, and we can move to action item number 11. COC statement to the City Council regarding concerns about statewide legislation that may affect the implementation of Measure ULA. On the next item of agenda 11, we are actually want to stress concerns from the COC about the statewide legislation that may affect the implementation of Measure ULA. If you recall, we issued a similar statement of concern regarding the proposed statewide bill that would have affected Measure ULA at our May 29th, 2025 meeting. Since then, new legislation has been introduced. The Citizens Oversight Committee has concerns about the efforts at the state to curtail the efficiency of local real estate transfer taxes like Measure ULA. These efforts would affect transfer taxes throughout the state, including Measure ULA, while the bill that was introduced during the last legislative session was shelved. The COC's understanding is that the bill's language may impose exemptions to existing transfer taxes like Measure ULA, limiting the measure's ability to raise funds and facilitate housing production, income support, tenant organizing, alternative models, and homeless prevention. Likewise, the COC is concerned about efforts to effectively overturn ULA via the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association proposed ballot measure of 2026. It stands to dismantle Measure ULA and to impair the city's efforts to address the housing affordability and homeless crises. The COC understands that these efforts are informed in part by what the COC believes as a permanent assessment of the effects of ULA, including, excuse me, an assumption that the measure is responsible for reduced property tax revenues. The analysis that informs the conclusion does not account for the full effects of ULA's implementation and does not adequately acknowledge that the voter-approved measure provides critical funding for affordable housing production and homelessness prevention. As directed by Measure ULA under Section 22.618.6C3, the COC will undertake an independent evaluation and the effects of Measure ULA. The COC looks forward to engaging with the issues raised in the preliminary studies of Measure ULA, and the COC urges the City Council to consider standing in opposition to any action that rests on an incomplete analysis of Measure ULA. Having considered, excuse me, is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, I would propose that both Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair send a direct communication letter or comment as to all elements that are involved in this.
As to, do you mean including all these points, or do you mean?
And to send what was just presented in a letter form to all aspects that are involved in this. I think I don't see any objection from any of my colleagues to have Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair initiate that. I believe consensus is for that.
Maybe just to clarify the word aspects there, are we talking recipients, or are we talking just include the text in full?
I'm seeking that written communication letter be submitted to all aspects of the protocol and process. We understand that this is it's going to go to the City Council, but it's also going to the state legislation.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to clarify. This can only go to City Council.
Okay, that's what I needed clarification. Thank you.
Excellent. Any objections to that? Any more comments or discussion? So can we move? Oh, I hear some.
I move.
Second.
Oh, great. Thank you. Make my job easy. Can we call for a vote?
Yes, Madam Chair. Chairperson Jones.
Yes.
Vice Chair Espinosa Coulter.
Yes.
Committee Member Abarca.
Yes.
Committee Member Barragan.
Yes.
Committee Member Holland. She's absent. Committee Member Knight. Committee Member Lewis.
Yes.
Committee Member Morales.
Yes.
Committee Member Nishimoto.
Yes.
Committee Member Reed.
Yes.
Committee Member Romero.
Yes.
Committee Member Rout.
Yes.
Motion passes, Madam Chair.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So that concludes item number 11. So we can move to item number 12, which is future agenda items. Are there any suggestions? Commissioner Lewis.
Yes, I would suggest that we agendize a discussion of what additional ad hoc committees might be warranted during the current year, including but not limited to a legislative committee and a committee to oversee the evaluation process.
Okay. Any others?
Could we add a follow-up item on this Tracy Park motion? I'm not sure what that would look like because I believe we wanted the governance committee to meet. So how do we get that on the agenda so we can get a report back from governance on that? Because that is of the utmost importance.
Excellent. Is there any way that we can request a report back for this past year on how the Housing Department and the Tahoe Task Force has maintained?
I believe, Madam Chair, we had a discussion also to add a ad hoc committee for tenant harassment that would include Tahoe.
Excellent. That'll work. Any others? Hearing none, but I have three. Have those been? Oh, no. All right. So we're good? Okay, I would now like to update the group on future agenda items, and we don't currently have a 2026 COC meeting scheduled. It hasn't actually been released. So is there any way that we can possibly work on that?
Yeah, to clarify, we are working on that very diligently. Metropolitan Water District hasn't released their boardroom schedule yet, so we can't book this boardroom until they tell us when we can because they have first priority. So I'm working on it.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right. All right. No other items? So that can conclude number 12. And we can, number 12, and we can move to 13, which is adjournment.
So move.
Second.
Awesome.
No
You're a
objection.
fun bunch. All right. Don't forget.